Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping back in on you. Sorry about that. The technical difficulties on that previous video caught up with me. I'm going to leave it up momentarily until I finish this video. Then I'll probably take it down because number one, it was spazzy. Number two, it was incomplete. But back again, I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm probably going to be a little bit more concise this time around. Unfortunately, time is moving through the day. But I was talking to you about our new course, Mastering Money. And people have been inquiring about what is Mastering Money about, what is the course about, and why should I enroll in it? And, from where are you coming? What qualifies you to teach the course? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some things with you to share you and tell you what the course is, what it's about, and why it's a must. If you don't get the information from me, you're going to have to get it from someone. If you don't know it, you need to know it. One of the reasons that people lose in any area in life is that they don't understand how things work in that particular area. They're operating off of old paradigms, which were probably faulty from the beginning, and they don't understand how things work, and they're trying to make things work based off the old paradigm. A lot of us grew up in poverty, and we were taught that we could work our way out of it, that we could literally hustle and work our way out of it. But even if you were lucky enough to be a person that had some type of gift or skill, that you actually were making a large sum of money beyond what you could imagine, if you didn't have the right financial mindset, principles, understanding, and knowledge, you would soon lose it. You know, the old saying, a fool and his money is soon parted. We see that in situations with professional athletes, where in the NFL and the NBA, over 70% of the players are broke within 3 to 5 years after retiring. That's because you may have created a mechanism through which you could become rich, but you did not develop the common sense and finance to establish wealth. Being rich and being wealthy is two different things, something I explained in the previous video, but I'm going to explain again here moving forward. Let me tell you what Mastering Money, the Mastering Money course is not. It's not a financial advisor opportunity for what I do at Rick Wallace Enterprises and through the Visionetics Institute, which this is being administered. It's not that. We're not going to be advising you on how to invest or spend your money. We're going to teach you common sense principles. We're going to teach you some strategies. We're going to show you what is and isn't, but we're not going to handle your money. So we're not going to be investing your money. We're not going to ask you to put your money into anything that we're doing. I will, occasionally mention some of the stuff that I'm doing. And if you want to talk to me on an individual basis about, you can, but that's not what this course is. This course is to show you what to do with your money so that you can go out and find the right opportunity for you. We're going to tell you some places that are solid that you can go out, research for yourself, and do some things. We're going to talk about the generation of revenue, but we're also going to talk about the importance of understanding how to handle your money. We're going to talk about the financial basics of not only generating money, but protecting yourself. We're going to talk about tax liability. Tax liability is huge. It's one of the places where I see a lot of people complaining because they don't understand how money works. They talk about how the wealthy are getting away without paying taxes, and the automatic assumption is because they have more money, they should pay more taxes. But they've already understood the system and how things work, so they work to protect their money and guard it against it. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about one thing specific, and I'm going to share a little bit of this with you a little bit later on before I close out, and that is instruments of protecting your taxes, like incorporating your business, which will protect you from taxes. In a corporation, generally speaking, only profits that are not levied against an expense are taxed. So anything that can be paid and made a part of the business is a non-taxable expenditure. So that's something that we teach, and we teach how to do that. We teach about the use of foreign domiciliaries to also distribute money without being taxed. But I'm going to talk to you specifically about an unincorporated business trust, which is also known as a Massachusetts trust, and why it can be a very powerful tool in protecting your money and helping to generate revenue, allowing multiple people to come in if you decide. Just a little bit. We're going to talk about that. But each one of the things I'm mentioning, financial basics, tax liabilities, everything I'm going to mention is going to be a course over the course of this 12-month course. It's going to be a course. We're going to do 2 courses a month. And then you got compound growth. If you talk to the top dealers and investors in the world, all billionaires, the Ray Dalios, the Warren Buffetts, the David Swenson. David Swenson took Princeton's, was it Yale? He took their endowment fund, which was $2 billion, and turned it into $22 billion in about 17 years. And I don't know if you know how hard that is, but he's taking money that he needs to be very, very careful with because it's an endowment fund, and he's literally multiplying it at a rate of $1 billion a year. And so that these are the kind of people that are sitting. And one of the things they say is that the biggest place that people fail is in compound growth. When you invest in a mechanism that has a compound return, like an index fund, the S&P 500, the Vanguard, you're going to get an 8.2 compounded return on your money. So your money is growing, and the growth of your money is being grown. That's what compounding is. It's taking it, and the earlier you start in that type of situation, the better you're going to fare. The earlier in life you start, the better you're going to fare. But it has long-term viability, and it's something that you want to really think about. We're going to teach the importance of compound growth. That has to be one of your mechanisms, not your only, but one of your mechanisms. We're going to talk about asset allocation. How are you allocating your assets? Where are you putting your money? How are you distributing what you're earning? That's going to be important. Knowing the rules is going to be one of the course. Asymmetric risk reward. Asymmetric risk reward. If you talk to any true investor that's been in the game, you'll find out that what you've been told all your life isn't true. That you have to have a lot of money to get in the game to make a little bit. So in other words, you got to put up. I'm just using a number. You got to put up 10,000 to make 1,000. And that's not how the heavy players play. They play asymmetric. In other words, they want to put a little to get a lot. So what they're looking for is something that they can put something in that's actually going to quadruple or triple. It's not a lot of it out there, but that's what they're playing for. They're playing for the big win with as little money invested as possible. It's called asymmetric risk reward. We're talking about diversification across assets. And that means don't get everything into one thing. I saw so many people lose their entire life behind Enron. And it happens on a smaller scale all the time. Getting up and something's really going, I'm going to throw all my money in it. Never throw all your money into anything. Always diversify, always spread across assets. We're going to talk about passive income, the importance of passive income. Passive income is what determines wealth. People will ask, what's the difference between being rich and wealthy? Well, being rich means you have a lot of money. You can buy a bunch of stuff. You're creating it. But you can be rich and not wealthy. And here's how. If what you're doing to generate the money that makes you rich requires your energy, your effort, your time, you have to work for it, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a CEO, whether it's your own business, then you are rich, but you're not wealthy. Let me explain what wealth is. Wealth is the person, and I like I said in the previous video, wealth is the individual or the person or the family that can sustain their lifestyle without working. In other words, I know people who have an income of $200 and something thousand a year, but they live a lifestyle of $70,000 a year. So what happens is that means they are bringing in annually almost 3 times as much as what they are actually spending. So they are steady growing their assets and however they're actually doing that, whether how they're distributing or whatever, but they are growing their assets. But here's the thing. They don't have to get up and go to work to live that lifestyle. Now, they're not living in the big 20,000 square foot mansion. They don't have the yacht. They don't have the private plane. But the lifestyle that they decide to live, they're supporting it without the money that they're earning by working. So when they get ready to retire, they will not only still live comfortably, but they will actually have money coming in and still growing so that they will be leaving as a part of generational wealth to the next generation more than what they came in and inherited. That's the growth process. That's how you have to think. When you're really doing this thing right, generational wealth is you inherited what you're going to live off of. What you're working for and creating and growing right now is for the next generation. It's not for you. That's how you have to think. But when you're like a lot of people coming out of poverty, you got to start building it. So you're going to be living off of it, growing it, and setting it up for the next generation. And you have to think that way. All of this isn't for me. Some of this is for my kids. Some of it's for my grandkids. And I've got to set that up for them. And I've got to teach them how to do this. And I'm going to live off of this. I don't know why the signal is freezing. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best. It's not showing on this end, so I really can't get it. Hopefully, it won't show up that way when it prints. It's just, well, for whatever reason, every device I'm using is having some kind of technical difficulties. But anyway, that's that. So that's passive income. Then deployable assets. I love deployable assets. Deployable assets is a way of creating passive income. For instance, all of my books would be considered deployable assets. I put work into them and spent a lot of energy and effort writing them. But once I write them, long as they're in circulation, they're creating money that comes in that I really don't have to think about. Now, I can promote them. I can share links. I can talk about them. And people will watch certain videos and they'll hear about them and all of that. And that is important. But that's a deployable asset. And you can think about deployable asset. I put out a lot of courses. And these courses that are on my site, you can go purchase a course and you can work the course. I don't have to be there for the course. Now, some of my courses will have me in intervals. In other words, you'll start the course after you get to a certain point. It'll say contact Dr. Wallace and we'll go over what you went over, make sure you understand it, and graduate you to the next level of the course. And you go back in and we do that through the course. But for the most part, I'm not there for the entire course, or I'm not there at all. You buy the course, you go through the course, you do your thing. That's a deployable asset. We're going to talk about that. But the most important thing that you're going to learn is you have to create mechanisms in which you are. One of the biggest mistakes I made, I talked about this in the previous video, the first time around was I was cash heavy. What that means is I had a lot of cash on hand. I had access to money that I could spend it quick. And that makes you very vulnerable. In many instances, if you don't understand money, you don't understand business, it makes you very vulnerable, and it makes you a target. You want to have your money working for you, first of all, and having it on hand in a bank it's not really working for you. Even when you've got a bank account that's giving you 2 or 3%, that's nothing compared to where it could be doing in an index fund at 8.2 minimum. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's easy to get after. I mean, from everything from hackers, the IRS, and anybody else that wants to sit around and come after you. It makes it, and then you are accessing and spending it when you should be investing. It should always be about growing. You can buy something. It's nothing wrong with taking what you're earning and living. But you've got to think further ahead than today and next year. And so one of the mistakes I made. So I'm real big now on having my money tied up into things where the money is working. It gets crazy sometimes because something big pops up. You got to go really do some crazy stuff to maneuver things around. But in the long term, I'm going to be fine. In other words, if something were to happen to me now, my family's good. My family is good, and I hope that they will take what I've been teaching them and actually do something, that advances what I've been trying to do with this, and it doesn't all fall apart. And I believe that they're definitely there. And so that's that. I just really there's going to be a lot of that taught in the class. Like I said, there are a minimum of 10 classes. The other one is going to be a custom plan. In other words, we're not going to tell you how to spend your money, but we're going to help you look at where you're at right now versus where you want to be. And that's going to be a total personal choice of where you are, where you want to be. Where you are is where you are. Where you want to be is going to determine how you take where you are and you work with it. Like I said, Theodore Johnson never made more than $14,000 a year. And yet he was convinced to take 20% of his income annually and invest it in an index fund. When he retired, he was worth $70 million. He continued to invest and continued to grow his money. At 90 years old, he gave half of it away. Another person, a man that worked at a parking lot as a parking lot attendant, never made more than $12 an hour, but happened to work in a financial district where the people who were parking in his parking lot were stock investors, financial advisors, money managers, things of that nature. And he would hit them up for advice. They give him advice, he would take it. He ended up retiring on a $12 an hour salary with cash assets of 500,000 and hard assets of another 400 to 500,000, almost worth $1 million, and grew over that after he retired, taught it to his kids, and now they're doing great. And that's what's with a $12 an hour salary. So the idea that I don't have enough money to invest isn't a real idea. It's a false idea. It's a myth. So in other words, no matter where you're, and I tell people all the time, the less you make, the more you're struggling, the more you need to invest. Because here's something. You got to think beyond yourself. You got to think beyond the moment. You got to think for your kids. Here's what I mean by that. If I continue to live every day just hustling and making 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, $16 an hour, and I'm not ridiculing anybody, I'm not making light of anybody, get what you got to get to do what you got to do. What I'm saying is there's a better way, and you got to learn it so that you don't pass that on to the next generation. Your responsibility isn't just for you to live, it's to prepare the next generation to do greater and better. So what do? You sit up and say, okay, I can sit up and watch, let my son and my daughter watch me do this, and then they're going to get up and work hard and do everything they can, and maybe they'll do a little better, they'll go out. No. Sit up and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of this. Everybody's going to have to sacrifice a little bit, because I'm going to take a certain part of this and it's going to be invested. It's not going to be touched. And you'll find out. And what I find is almost everybody, no matter what, has that money that they could actually be investing. You know, that Louis Vuitton purse, that $50,000 car that rides the same as the $30,000 car. I mean, it's a bunch of money out there that you could actually reel back in and change. Get out the Benz and get you a Honda. Get out the Lexus and get you a Toyota. And do what it is, or go out and buy you a cash car. If you got to have you a luxury vehicle, save your money, get your cash car. No, now you own it outright. It's an actual asset now. And that money that you're spending on a monthly basis can now be invested. But you got to find a way. The money is there. We'll talk about all the different ways that no matter where you're at and how much you're making, that there's something there. It might take you a little longer and a little slower, but you still have to be better in 3 years and 5 years and 10 years than you are now. You can't keep working the same plan and working a job that's actually giving you a raise at a lower rate than the cost of living is climbing. That's not going to work for you. You've got to be thinking about what you're passing on in the way of financial legacy to your children and your grandchildren. And we're going to talk about how that's done. Again, once you pay to enroll, we're not asking you to invest anything in what we're doing or what the business is doing. That's not what this is. This is solely a course where you're going to be taught 2 classes per month, and it's rolling. So whenever you get in, you start your course. Now, here's the beautiful thing about it. Anybody that enrolls in the next week is going to get a free copy of my 20th book, Critical Mass. Then also, as long as this course is rolling, 10% of the revenue that comes in on this course is going to be allocated and earmarked for the battling of sex trafficking. My wife and I have taken on a more active role. My wife already works with girls who have been sex trafficked and victims of sexual violence as children. I work with young boys who are at risk for violence. That's something we always do, but we did an interview where we talked about the devastation of sex trafficking. We did a radio interview a couple of weeks ago. We both attended. I was invited, but I brought her along and she participated in the interview. And we actually got to sit down with a young lady who had been trafficked. And she shared some facts with us that I didn't even know. And it's something that I've been really involved in understanding and learning. And my wife made a commitment that my wife, on the way home from that interview, we made a commitment that we were going to become involved in battling that and being a resource to children who are at risk, as well as helping to rescue people who have been caught up in sex trafficking. And so 10% of that, the revenue on these courses are going to go directly to that. Now, in order to get the book, you don't click the link and go to the site, which the payments are going to take place at the same time and end up with us at the same time. The difference is when you do it on the system, it's automated and you could slip through the system. I want to make sure that everybody that's signing up within the next week gets the book. So email me. If you're interested in the book, if not, you can click the link, go to the site and pay, and you're going to be contacted within 24 hours, depending if it's on the weekend, maybe 48 hours, and you're going to be set up with the initial package. And I'll tell you this, at $5.99, the initial consultation itself is worth it. The initial consultation is worth it. And this thing is going to go from $599 to about $5,000 in about 90 days after we take it off the beta. After we go off beta, it's going to go to 5,000. And if you think that that's too much, I'm telling you now, my platinum consulting and coaching courses, my platinum package is 10.5, and people are paying it. I deliver. This isn't arrogance. It's just simply knowing who I am. I deliver. People pay it, and people get more than the value. I'm telling you, at $5.99, just that first consultation, you're going to have enough that you can go get your $5.99 back. Just by sitting down and let me point out some things that you can do differently, you're going to have that. And over the course of that 12 months, you're going to probably get more than $10,000 to $20,000 in value. But we're starting it out at $5.99 because I want it to be available to anybody that can do it. And there are people saying, not everybody can. Everybody can afford $5.99. It's amazing how much people have spent for Christmas. It's amazing how much people have spent for Christmas in comparison to what they generate in revenue. So yes, everybody can afford it. It's about whether you're ready to make that commitment, make that turn, make that change. I will give a lot, and giving it at $5.99 is a lot, but I'm never going to invest in somebody more than they're willing to invest in themselves. This is for the people who want to see something different, willing to put in some time. This is not a get rich quick scheme. I'm not promising you $1 million. What I'm promising you is you can create a life for yourself you never had if you take what I'm giving, because it's solid. This isn't Rick's wisdom. This is the wisdom that was passed on to Rick, the wisdom that Rick is still developing and learning himself. That allows you to do some things that changes your world. This is the wisdom that Rick got to a point where his arrogance and thinking about cash put him at a disadvantage in 2012, and he really got hurt. But the wisdom that he had in him allowed him to start over and get back to where you see Rick at today. That's the thing I'm sharing with you. There's no inoculation from stupidity, arrogance, and just simply making a poor decision. I'll tell you that I've studied Warren Buffett. I've studied Ray Dalio. I've studied David Swenson. I've studied Warren. I mean, a bunch of them. And I can tell you, none of them are going to tell you they get it right all the time. They'll tell you, a lot of them will tell you they get it wrong most of the time. But when you are diverse, if you've got 10 things you're investing in, and you get 6 of them wrong, but you get 4 of them right, and the 4 that you get right deliver on a bigger dividends, you still won. If you get 50%, you're going to break even on if they're all even. So you don't have to get them all right. You just got to have enough going on and be aware enough and have enough knowledge about how things work and understand how to read financials. We're going to teach you how to read financials. We're going to teach you how to understand in very simple terms the stock market. I said it before. The problem with execution isn't that it's hard. It's that people make it complex. And complexity is the enemy of execution. So what you do when you want to execute is simplify the equation. That's what we're going to teach you to do, is simplify the equation of building wealth. It's building wealth. It's a step-by-step process. It's going to start somewhere and it's going to end somewhere. What you definitely want to be doing, no matter what, is moving forward. Don't get caught up. And another thing is I'm going to teach you, and that's, I said I was going to tell you about the unincorporated business trust. The unincorporated business trust is a trust that you can create that literally will provide you with, in many cases, more tax protection against taxes than the corporation. And the corporation is a good place to start. I've done both. But a Massachusetts trust or unincorporated business trust will allow you to do that. It's also a good place to do investments, to make business moves, protect your income, because you're only going to be taxed on what is paid out to the trustors. And you find trustees that you can trust. You want people who know what they're doing. You want somebody that's chairing it, that has an understanding of it, but you can build a trust and you can operate your money. I know a few executors of trusts that they're doing crazy and wonderful things. So it's important that you understand. We're going to teach that. That's one of the courses that comes under tax liability, is the unincorporated business trust, and how to use that and what's the differences. You can kind of research it and you'll find out the differences between an unincorporated business trust and a corporation. What's the differences, what's the benefits, and so forth. But what I want to do is I want to invite you in starting today. If you want to get started, email me. I will send out an invoice and we'll set up the first consultation, or you can just click the link, go to the site, pay, and you'll get an email setting to set up the first consultation. But if you want the free book, email me. I'll contact you and I'll send you out an invoice from the company that you pay. Once you pay it, you immediately will receive an email setting up the time for your first consultation, and that will be directly with yours truly. And like I said, that first consultation alone is worth the enrollment fee. That's my challenge to you this Sunday. Become. In other words, let's start the year out already on the road of doing something greater than we've done before. That's the challenge. As I always say, live your life on full so that you die on E. That's my goal when I wake up every morning, is that I'm going to give the world everything I got. Sometimes I'm flat on my back. Sometimes I done took some hits because this world isn't perfect. And I don't ever want to present that to the people who are following me, to the people who are listening to me, that everything goes right. Once you get to a certain, no, everything doesn't go right. You just become more equipped to handle it. You become more confident in dealing with it. You don't become shaken and frenetic when things don't go your way. You understand that if I just stay the course, I'm going to handle it. I'm built for it. You don't know how many times I've reminded myself. I go to the mirror and say, look, you built for this. Pick up myself and I keep moving. So I just want you to understand that it's not about everything being right and everything. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about preparing yourself to win in life. And in order to win, you got to be willing to take some hits and bumps and some bruises. That's just simply it. So I invite you to email me so that we can get started. If you want to take the route of going to the site and ordering from the site, some people don't like ordering from the site. If you want me to send you an invoice that you can pay with your credit card, your bank card, we can do that as well. Like I said, the next week, those who enroll in the next week, you'll be able to get a free copy of, where is it at? Book number 20. We're already on book number 21, but this is the first book. This is book 20, and it's the first book in a 6-book series on personal development. So those who don't have this book but want to start with it, and I tell you what, those who do have this book and want to take advantage of it, if you are, you'll get I Am, which is the second book. But you got to have the first book ordered before you can get the second book, because it's important. All right, that's it. On that note, I'm gonna check out of here. I got stuff everywhere. I'm gonna check out of here. Thank you for checking in. You guys have a great day.